everyone, it's Tiny Games here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, this is a re-record. I recorded this video originally and it comes off a bit like lectury, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So I'm trying to re-record this with a less lectury kind of tone. Because that's what I'm trying to avoid doing. I'm trying to make like positives here in this community. Basically I'm here to talk about Star Wars. Now, the Star Wars stuff got announced for the premium shop, which for me is very, very exciting. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I grew up watching Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I'm not going to say everything Star Wars is amazing. There's a lot of recent Star Wars that I absolutely hate, and in my eyes I don't even consider. I wouldn't rewatch it. I'm not into it at all. I think, it ruined the stories and stuff like that. And there's stuff that I don't like about Star Wars. I love older classic Star Wars. I don't mind the prequels and stuff like that. But I'm not 100% like everything Star Wars is fantastic. No, I can be critical of it too. Just like I can be with Disney. So I don't want anyone to misinterpret me as being like some sort of fanboy that, there can be no wrong and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say that. But I am someone who grew up on Star Wars and I am a fan, and I'm very excited to have this dream world that I can escape into that's based on my childhood experiences and have Star Wars be a part of it. I'm very excited for that. I do also think Star Wars fits in well. There's a lot of storylines which carry great parallels in terms of their sort of emotional depth and their meanings and stuff like that. Like, Star Wars isn't just all pew pew, saber saber, it's not like that. There's a really big core story to it, and there's different stories within that as well, and so there's a lot of crossover. I personally feel that makes Star Wars a good part of Dreamlight Valley. Not only that, but I don't see any problems with having lightsabers or anything in the game. We already have weapons, so it's not like it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to introduce weapons to the game. There's weapons in the game. Having a space-themed sword is nothing like that I feel is any different from a regular sword kind of thing. So, and we do have space-themed items. I mean, we've got Wally, we've got Eve, we've got Buzz. So space theming is not out of reach for items in game. We have space theming items. So that's just my preface to this, and so you know where I'm coming from kind of emotionally and my thoughts. We do have the premium shop items upcoming. If you are not a fan of Star Wars, if you don't like Star Wars, okay, which is valid, totally fine, or even if you like Star Wars but just don't want it in the game, my biggest advice to you, tell Gameloft, mention it on surveys, tweet whatever it may be, communicate with them that way. And don't buy the premium shop items. If you don't want more Star Wars in this game, do not buy. I think that's the biggest message I can put out there, is if you do not want more Star Wars, do not buy these items. Do not. Because they will be looking at the sales of these items, seeing how well they do, and if they do very, very well, there will be more Star Wars to come. I can guarantee that. It might not come next week, obviously, but it will happen eventually. So you really need to kind of protest with your money, protest with your voices. The one thing I would say, let's not attack people who are excited about this edition. I have seen so much hostility, so much negative language used towards people that are excited about this. You are entirely valid to not be happy, to not be excited. However, to bully, harass people who are excited, I just don't think is excusable. Please do not be doing that. I do not tolerate that. I do not want any of that happening in my community, okay? If you want to be someone that wants to attack others, please find another community, because I do not want you here. There are other communities out there that will be better suited for you, I can assure you. There are communities out there that are quite happy for that, but mine is not one of them. So let's talk about my thoughts on how they can introduce Star Wars in a good way that will probably keep the majority of people happy. I say the majority because, as with everything in life, you're never gonna keep everyone happy. Like, that's just the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But this is my thoughts on how I think they should introduce Star Wars to keep those fans happy that want Star Wars, that would love the inclusion, and hopefully keep those that don't want the inclusion happy. Now, I think they've done a really good start by introducing these items into the premium shop. By adding them into the premium shop, they are 100% optional. If you do not want a droplet of Star Wars in your valley, don't buy them. Do not buy them. You do not have to have any of that in your valley. It is an elected choice. An elected choice. And you don't have to have it. And I think that's a fantastic kind of compromise to begin with for Star Wars, because it is 100% optional. I don't think they're going to have a Star Wars themed Dream Snap. I think there's every chance we could have a space themed Dream Snap, but I would like to remind everyone we have already had a space themed Dream Snap, and if y'all could make it work before, y'all can make it work again. Like, you will not have to buy these Star Wars items just to fulfill that. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it. People will probably use the Star Wars items that get them if there's a space themed Dream Snap, but we have Wally, we have Buzz, we have Eve, we have space themed characters you can utilize. So do not be upset if there is a space themed Dream Snap, because you are not confined to using Star Wars. It is not being forced. A lot of the premium shop items do tie in to challenges, to Dream Snap challenges. That's how economically it kind of works. They want to convince you to buy what's in the shop to help you with perhaps a theming or a challenge. We see it. We've had the Easter items coming for the Hoppy Days challenge. Like, that is not unusual in the scope of the Disney realm. That happens, but you can absolutely do things without it. You could have done the Hoppy Days challenge without any of the premium shop Easter items. You could use the craftables, the forageables, and things like that. It was not ever mandatory. Yeah, sure, it helps, but that's the benefit you get from spending money in the game, basically. So I think how they've started is absolutely fantastic, and I think for any aesthetics, clothing, stuff like that, the premium shop is a fantastic compromise, because it makes it 100% optional and no one is forced to pick it up. However, I want to talk about characters, because I would very, very much like to see Star Wars characters come to this game. I would love it. I would be so happy. I think it would be fantastic. I think it would be fun and things like that. And I'm sure there are other people who agree with me. I know there are some that disagree. They've already been vocal about it, and that's totally fine. So these are my thoughts on how Gameloft can best do that. And my thoughts is we have a mini DLC. So we know how the DLCs are currently structured. We usually get quite a few characters in the DLC. We get an overarching storyline with multiple biomes, multiple kind of areas and stuff like that. And this will carry over the period of a year, effectively. I mean, it's either 3 updates or it's 2 updates. We've only got 2 to go off, but it seems to be kind of pretty formulaic. So that's a regular DLC. My thoughts for a mini DLC is it almost functions a little bit like a dream bundle. So you purchase the DLC, you get perhaps some clothing items, perhaps some decor items, things like that. But with this mini 8 DLC, you would also unlock the characters. So it would work a bit like a character pack. I wouldn't expect this mini DLC to have a massive overarching storyline. However, what they could do is have it function a little bit like a realm. So we would go through a portal, we would go to Naboo, like something like that, or whatever. The characters would be there, the characters would have their homes and things like that. And we could interact with them, we could do their friendship lines, and that would be it. We have the little world that they're in to kind of confine them. We have the characters which get unlocked with, we do their friendship quests, which allows us to sort of unlock perhaps a few more decor and clothing pieces. And that would be pretty much the scope of it. There wouldn't be a massive story or anything like that. Just a couple of friendship quests, which, to be honest, we all know friendship quests are pretty straightforward, pretty short, pretty easy, pretty concise. They usually don't take up too much time. You can usually do most characters' storylines within like an hour. It's usually not that big of a deal. So it wouldn't be a lot of content for them to produce. But that would be, I think, a great way of introducing it. Having it as a mini DLC means the regular DLCs wouldn't have to stop. And I think a mini DLC pack would be perfect for the lull in between the kind of big major DLC updates. So if Gameloft want to continue how they have it currently, which is where they have the December release and then a summer release for the second part, which is what they're doing with this one. Last time they did have it release in 3 parts, but this time they've done the 2. There's a massive lull where it's like nothing's happening in the DLC. It's completely forgotten. It's completely irrelevant. I don't want to say it's useless because it's not, because there's a lot of foliage pieces I like from the DLC at the moment and stuff like that. But generally speaking, that world to me is pretty abandoned right now, other than searching for new Scrooge items or perhaps decorating in there. It's pretty pointless being there. There's not much point. Like, all the in-between updates are focused in the valley, so there's not really a lot of reason to go over there, except for checking Scrooge's store at the moment for me. So it would be perfect to have like kind of like a mini DLC pack. Perhaps you pay moonstones for it or real money, and then those who want that content can introduce it into their game. But because it's isolated, because it's just friendship rewards, none of it would have an impact on the rest of the Disney Dreamlight Valley universe. It wouldn't prevent you getting characters any sooner or anything like that. It would just provide a way for people to get additional characters into their game if they wanted it. And that way it would be 100% optional and a great way to introduce Star Wars to people that want it, and those that don't can choose not to have it. They could then do the same with the rest of the expansive kind of Disneyverse. They could do that with Marvel and stuff if they wanted. And it'd be a great way for them to get more money from the player base that wants it without disturbing those people who just want classic Disney. So yeah, I think that would be personally the best kind of compromise for it and the best way to introduce it. I do have my own thoughts on feelings about delaying other characters, because I think that's a silly notion, personally. I have said this before, there are always characters that they're going to try and hold back for as long as possible, because at the end of the day, Gameloft want to sell DLCs. They want to keep the updates kind of continually going. It's a live service game. They need to convince people to keep coming back to this game for it to be beneficial. And I do feel like if they gave us everyone at once, like if tomorrow they dropped all the princesses and, you know, the key most popular characters, this game would very, very quickly die a death. It would be dead so fast. It would not last, which is why certain characters aren't in the game. You know, I hear people say, oh, you know, we've had this character before Cinderella, where's Cinderella, kind of thing. And there's a reason for it. It's a business reason. And we can be critical of businesses and their reasonings and stuff like that and how they function. I've got no qualms against that, because I have thoughts about corporations, you know, F them and stuff like that. You know, I have strong thoughts. So if you want to get all negative about Gameloft, that is fine, but let's not get negative towards the players who are excited about things. You know, we're gonna have characters that come before other popular characters because they need to have a steady line of highs and lows within the game. Basically, it needs to flow continually. If not, people will just stop coming back to this game. If all the good characters come first and there's no one else left to be excited for, people will just slowly tune off the game. They'll slowly disappear. They want to have people to get excited and to come back to the game. So by them putting in Star Wars characters, for instance, it's not delaying your favorite character from coming in the game. It's not pushing them back. That person's going to be pushed back regardless. All you're going to get is some itty bitty side character that you probably don't like, you probably don't even care about, that you'd quite happily wait for. That person would just replace those Star Wars characters potentially. Like, I think we need to be a bit more media literate or media savvy and understand that even if those characters were introduced, they'd be introduced because they're popular. They'd be introduced because they would give Gameloft money and things like that. There's a business reason behind it, and it's not delaying Cinderella. It's not going to be delaying Snow White. Those characters would already be held back for a reason. And if it wasn't like Star Wars characters coming in, it would be someone else. It'd be, I don't know, Sebastian. It'd be Nemo. It'd be Lightning McQueen. You kind of get what I'm saying. There's always going to be someone else. There's always going to be an alternative. So I think basically at the crux of this, I think a great way to do it is to make it 100% optional. That way you can keep everyone, I say everyone because like I said at the beginning, you're not going to always keep everyone happy, but for the most part, because it's 100% optional, it should keep people happy. I say should. We've already seen the outcry. We've already seen people getting very aggressive and angry about premium shop items, which are 100% optional, and if you don't want them, it only means you can save moonstones. Doesn't everyone complain that there aren't enough moonstones in game, that we need to get more moonstones, and now you're given an opportunity to get more moonstones and you're annoyed at that? I don't get it. I don't get it. Sorry, I'm getting a bit lectury again. This isn't what I wanted, but basically I just wanted to kind of suggest a compromise and my thoughts and feelings, because I think it's totally fine to be critical, but let's be constructive with our criticism. You don't like something, what's the solution? What is the way around it? And I think a mini DLC would be a perfect compromise. It would allow players who want that universe in their game to get it, and it would allow players who don't want their universe to not have to have it. And it wouldn't have to disrupt Gameloft's flow with usual content, with overarching DLC storylines or anything like that. It would just be a way for Gameloft to earn extra money from players that want to pay for those extra content, those extra characters and stuff like that. And people who just want to have a classic Disney universe, whatever that may mean, because we have Pixar, but that's a whole other story. But it would allow those players to have that, and they could live happy in their little bubble, and everyone can be happy. Everyone can be happy. That's what I want. Everyone to be happy. Everyone should be happy. You know, if it's optional, you don't have to stress about it. You don't have to stress about it. You can avoid it. You can do whatever you want and it'll be fine. And this is my compromise. A mini DLC to make players happy. And I think that's the best way for it. I genuinely do. I think that would be the best way for it. If you think of another suggestion that would keep the majority of players happy, feel free to leave it in my comments. If you have an alternative method for keeping both sides happy, I would love to hear it if you have ideas. But I think a mini DLC Dream Bundle type item would be perfect. I think that would be the ultimate compromise and allow people to truly live their Dreamlight Valley Disney fantasies in the best way possible. So yeah, that's it from me. That's it from me. I'm gonna leave before I start ranting and getting lecturesome. And I look forward to hearing from you in the comments down below about your thoughts of how you would kind of navigate it. As just, let's not be aggressive. I don't want anyone calling anyone names or anything like that. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. If you want to be like that, please find another community, because truthfully, I don't want you here if that's what you're going to be like. And I don't care whose panties that bunches, twists, whatever it's called. That is my thoughts. So yeah, let's leave that there. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.